I married the same woman twice.
Yes,
You married Natalie Wood twice.
I did.
But why did we do that?
I don't know, but isn't it great?
Listen to me and listen slow, because this one never goes away. For more than 40 years, a cold November night off Catalina has haunted Hollywood like a ghost that refuses to leave the soundstage. The face is Natalie Wood's. The name at the center of the whispering is Robert Wagner. But this isn't a movie. It's a slow, ugly mystery that keeps coming back, and every time it wakes up, the questions get louder. Picture the Splendor, a yacht moored under fog, wind lashing, the sea angry and black. On board, Natalie Wood, radiant on screen, but terrified of water in real life. Robert Wagner, husband and movie star husband. Christopher Walken, uneasy co-star. Captain Dennis Davern, the man who would later say he'd been silenced. Drinks had been taken, tensions had been wound tight. That night is where many glittering careers and private lives tangled, and where a woman vanished. She slipped, she fell, she drowned. That was the line for decades. But what if the line was a script and the truth was in the margins? There is one scene that won't leave the case alone: the delay. Natalie reportedly disappears around 11 p.m. The Coast Guard isn't called for hours. The man who should have been frantic, the last known person with her, does not order a full-bore search. Captain Davern later said he was told, "Don't do anything. Let's not turn on the searchlight." You hear that, and your heart drops. On any normal night, in any normal life, that would be a dereliction. Here, it's the ignition for decades of suspicion. Captain Dennis Davern is a key player, and his testimony changed everything. Once a man who supported Wagner's story, Davern became the man who says he was bullied into silence. He went public, then louder. He wrote a book. He said he heard the argument, furniture breaking, voices raised, then sudden quiet. He says Wagner said, "Natalie's missing," and told him to hold back. Then there are the witnesses who were nearby that night, Marilyn Wayne and John Payne, who say they heard a woman's desperate cries and a man replying, in a tone that did not match panic. "Okay, honey." If true, that phrase is one of the coldest things you can imagine. It makes you wonder what else was heard and what else was chosen to be silenced. You cannot ignore the physical facts. Natalie's autopsy showed a blood alcohol level high enough to dull her senses. She'd taken Dramamine and painkillers, a dangerous mix. But here's the part that chills: bruises on arms, on the left side of her face, an abrasion on the cheek, a scratch on the neck. Some of those bruises, later forensic reviewers argued, might not fit the story of a simple slip. Bruises are not a plot device. They are a map, and that map did not line up neatly with the official script. And then there's the woman herself, Natalie Wood, a celebrity who feared the dark ocean like a child fears the dark. Her sister Lana says Natalie would never, ever have gone out in a nightgown and socks to fumble with a dinghy in those seas. A woman terrified of water, found in the water. That contradiction is a cold, loud bell in this story. But the most combustible element is this: Robert Wagner's story changed. At first, he said Natalie probably went to tie off a dinghy. Later, he admitted there had been a fight, a smashed wine bottle, an argument with Walken. He admitted more and then less. Changing stories don't just warp credibility. They light suspicion like kindling. There are also loud silences. Christopher Walken, who was on the yacht, gave only limited comments later and retreated from the public confessional stage. Captain Davern says he was pressured. Marilyn Wayne says her attempts to report what she heard were ignored or met with thin, threatening replies. When witnesses are shushed, when people who should have been heard are hushed, the odds aren't that a truth was found, they're that a truth was buried. This was Hollywood in the age of image control. Studios polished reputations. Publicists planted stories. Powerful people got blurred privileges. Lana Wood, Natalie's sister, pushed, and her persistence helped reopen this case decades later. She wrote a book. She named names. She accused Robert Wagner publicly. When a sister won't rest, when a family refuses to accept the shorthand of accident, you should listen. The legal record shifted too. In 2012, the coroner changed the cause of death to drowning and other undetermined factors. That was not a small edit. It was an official admission that the first explanation no longer swallowed all the evidence. The coroner's pen rewriting a death certificate is like a judge raising an eyebrow. It means someone thought the first verdict deserved a second look. What has changed in the decades since? For starters, investigators re-examined bruises, timelines, and witness statements. In 2018, the Sheriff's Department labeled Robert Wagner a person of interest. That phrase is not the same as charged, but it is not casual either. It means officials see unresolved gaps between explanation and evidence. Person of interest is a public shiver. It doesn't accuse, but it refuses to forget. Still, be clear about one chilling truth. The case remains officially unsolved. No one has been convicted. No charge was ever brought. The evidence is thick with suspicion and thin with finality. That's the part that twists the knife. Decades of grief, names carved into memory, and the system's inability or unwillingness to cross the final line. So what do you believe? Do you take the old script at face value? An actor slips, a cruel sea takes her, a husband grieves publicly, and close the book? Or do you hold the other view? A toxic mix of booze and medicine, an argument turned violent, witnesses ignored, bruises unexplained, and a husband whose story drifted like fog. Both truths can sit in a room at once. The grief is real, whether the fall was accident or assault. The suspicion is equally real. Let me be blunt. This story matters because it forces us to ask who gets protected and why. It forces us to ask what power buys you in the hour of a tragedy. It forces us to ask why some witnesses are heard and others silenced. That right there, the question of power, is the thread that unravels more than a single night. It unravels an industry. If you grew up with a poster of Natalie on your wall, if you loved that voice on the screen, then this story cuts differently. It's not just a scandal about stars. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when glamour meets secrecy, when a culture protects a facade at the expense of a life. The ocean still holds its secrets. The yacht has long since been retired, but the questions keep bobbing to the surface. Bruises, late calls, muffled voices, changing stories. For Natalie Wood, the lights went out that night. For the rest of us, the searchlight is still blinking, waiting for someone, someday, to flick the switch and finally see everything. If this touched something in you, anger, sorrow, curiosity, say it below. Tell me which part of that night keeps gnawing at you. Because some stories don't end with a coroner's certificate. They end when we stop letting them go quiet.